There you go. This is comfort, huh? I suppose you'd like a mat, would you? Yeah, sure, there you go, you may as well, huh?
And you're going to play music and they all have to switch, right?
Well, you better prepare for that one. There you go, Connor. Nice to be. Anyone else? There you go. Anyone else? Mats? Any more breath? You alright there, guys? You're fine? Actually, we'll throw another few down there.
Turn my phone down.
Well, hello there, folks. I recognise some faces here today. And do we need to speak louder? Oh my goodness. I better plug in the microphone in here. We're trying to tell you a few stories today. But the reason we came out, we were supposed to be under that tent. And you know yourself, it's very important to come outside and realise that we're on planet Earth. Because most of the time, we don't sense that we're on the planet at all. And the reason we come out here today and come beneath this great old big tree, will I tell you why we came here today beneath the tree? Because one time long ago in Ireland, a man came to the very centre of Ireland and he planted 3 branches of 3 trees in a hill called Ishna. And a great big mighty tree grew up. And that tree had 7 roots and it went way down deep into the earth. And it grew up in the middle of Ireland and its branches reached out and touched all the stars in the sky. And that tree became the centre of time. And it became the centre of time. This tree was planted nearly 6,000 years ago. And the tree was a mighty, mighty tree. They say it grew 26 miles high. And what they did, they started looking at time moving around the tree. And most of us these days believe time is straight ahead and that we're always chasing it. But for the Celts and for the old wise people, they saw time wasn't going straight at all. But for the Celtic people, time moved around and around. And as you're down around the festival, you will see lots of designs like this. And this is the Celtic knot. And the reason it doesn't have any beginning and have no end is because if we look at time, it moves around in a big circle, and you know, circles don't have beginnings or don't have ends. But when they mark time, they said the tree grows right in the center. And they mark time having 4 corners and 4 cross quarters. And these 4 corners we know as equinoxes and solstices, and these 4 cross quarters we know as Celtic fire festivals. And there was 4 fire festivals. There was one of them on the 1st of February, and we know it is St. Bridget's Day. And there's one at the 1st of May called Beltane, or Beltina, the fires of the sun god Bel. And there was one at Lunasa, and the last one we know as Samhain, and all you kids know it as Halloween. And Halloween was the Celtic New Year. And do you know why they thought it was the Celtic New Year? Because if you stand in the centre, like all wise people do, and connect yourself with the earth beneath, you will know your place where you are. And you grow up in the middle, and the future comes in the stars above, just like the wise old tree. This tree always knows where it is, but sometimes we don't because we're running around the place. But sure, if we were standing in the centre, every morning what comes to us? The sun comes to us, and we get new beginnings, a gift of time. And when the sun comes to us each day, it's a gift, and we should welcome it and say, wow, look at the gift of time we got. And in the middle of the day, the sun is high in the sky, and all the fields are full, and we count our blessings. And then the evening, when the sun sets, it's the wise part, because each day something happens to us that we should pick it up and remember what happened. And it's a wise part of the day when we pick up the most important thing before we run away without it. And in the north, when the sun sets, everything gets dark. And it's a place where we think about our own inner journey. Not the part that's for the world, but the part for yourself. And when you see time moving around in a wheel and you wander those four corners, where do we find ourselves? Right in the center, like the old wise tree, knowing your place in the world. And these days it's very, very important to know our place in the world, because sometimes we forget altogether that we are the people that stand in the middle. And we have to remember that the earth and all beneath the earth is what gives us life. And then we live in the present, and the future, the spirit world, is above us. So forget about your tomorrows, because they never come. So we always try to be in the middle. Well, no, I just said I'd start that because it's very important information that we're all like trees. And the more we belong to the earth, the more respect we have for it. And all our ancestors, the people that came before us, where are they? They're beneath us. And a matter of fact, they're all the roots of the trees. And they're all in touch with us. Because the blood that flows through our body belongs to the people that came before us. And when you stand in a tree, do you know what you are? You're a warrior. A great warrior. Will I tell you about a great warrior? We had the finest warriors in Ireland, and one of them, his name was Finn. Finn the wise one. He was very, very wise because he got his wisdom, a matter of fact, from a salmon, the great salmon of knowledge. He was a young lad about your age, and he was walking along the bank of the river, and there was an old wise druid fishing for the salmon of knowledge. And the salmon had gotten all the knowledge in the world from a little hazelnut that fell from one of the 9 sacred hazel trees. And he fished all his life. He says, I'm looking for knowledge. And he fished, and he fished, and he fished. And the old man, he had a long time. He must have been 90. And Finn was walking along one day, and he saw the old man fishing, and it must have been a stroke of luck. He caught the salmon, and he brought it, and he says, oh, Bradon, as Gaeilge in Irish, the salmon of knowledge. I finally got the salmon of knowledge. Whoever is going to have the first taste of the salmon will have all the knowledge in the world. And the old druid got a fire, he got some leaves and some twigs, and he started building a fire, and he was cooking the fire, and the fire was burning down, and he had to get more firewood, and he said, young Finn, come, you turn the salmon, and make sure you don't burn it, for if it's burnt, this is the nicest salmon that ever swam in any river in Ireland. And he was turning the salmon, and Finn was minding the salmon, looking at it, and all of a sudden the bird started singing in the tree, and Finn, it's a lovely song, that bird is singing. And he looked down, and a big blister started coming on the side of the salmon. And he says, oh, the old druid wouldn't be too happy with the blister. I better burst the blister in the salmon. And he put his finger down to burst the blister, and who was the first one to taste the knowledge? Finn. But that's when he was a young lad. Well, he became a great hero in Ireland, and a great wise one. And back in Ireland, they used to have a band of warriors, and their names were the Fíne. And the Fíne all had special skills. If you wanted to be a member of the Fíne, you had to have a great skill, whether it was speed, whether it was throwing a spear, whether it was strength. But you also had to learn verses, 110 verses, and you had to know them. So there was poetry every night around the fire and stories to be told. Well, anyway, the Fíne, a whole battalion, was 27. And the reason it was 27, because 3 was the sacred number. Because there was 3 worlds, one beneath us, one in the middle, and one above. And everything had 3 aspects. So a band of warriors was 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 9 is 27. So even when they'd wear a big torque around their neck, there'd be 27 strands on it. But the warriors used to break up into 3 groups of 9. So 9 of them would go to different directions. And sure, one night, Finn was out with the lads, and they were hunting. And these were the best warriors in Ireland, and they had no trouble hunting. And one night they were hunting. All day long, they couldn't see a deer, a rabbit, a bird. And that evening, of course, when you have no home to go to and you're living in the woods, they were fierce hungry. that night there was pains in the belly and they were getting cranky with each other. They says, Finn, we gotta set up camp and not a bit of food to eat tonight. What are we gonna do? And he says, oh, we'll camp here. He looked around and he said he looked into the woods. He saw a small little cabin and there was a light flickering in the window. And he says, hey, it's okay. We'll go to this cabin and here we will see if we can get food tonight. So he went to the cabin and Finn was in front and he knocked on the door. And the door just... And inside in the middle, right in the middle of a floor, there was a man about that size, and he was the hairiest man you could ever see. He had hair drawn all the way from every part of his body down to the floor. And his two eyes were looking up at Finn with cool, and Finn was a big warrior. And Finn went in and says, I am Finn of the Philia. He said, okay, we enter tonight. We are hungry, is it possible you can feed us? And the little man says, come in, show yourselves. And they showed themselves with the flicker of the fire. And he says, before I feed you tonight, I want you to do a job for me. He said, oh, whatever it is. He said, look over in the corner of that cabin. And over in the corner of the cabin there was a little goat. And Finn says, what is it you want us to do with him? Cook him? Oh no, said the man, can you cook that goat? I want you to catch that goat and I want you to bind him up and hang him on the hook over in that wall, if you would. And I'll be back to feed you. And the little man went off out. And the Philia says, that's an easy one, lads. Come on, the fittest one of them got there. His name was Quilta. He was the fastest runner. Well, Quilta says, I'll take care of that, lads. Not a bother. And he went over to catch the goat. Well, he went in, he tried to catch the goat and the cow. Well, I swear, Quilta, the fittest of them all, chased that goat around the cabin, and there wasn't a chance. He couldn't catch the goat, and all the other warriors were saying, look at Quilta, he can't even catch a goat. And this, he wore him out. He said, I'm out of breath, the fittest one of them. So sure enough, the big strongest one will come out of there, would you? I'd show you how to catch a goat. He couldn't even catch. And he went over chasing the goat, and again the goat went, what? Where is he? He couldn't look at him. The goat was bouncing from one side to, and all the Philia were laughing at him. And every one of those warriors, one by one, tried to catch that goat around the place. And goat like that. What's going on here? Well, as they were there, who walks in? Oh, the beautiful young maiden. I mean, the most beautiful woman you could ever see. And she walked in, and one of the heroes, one of the warriors, his name was Diarmid. She walked over to him and she looked at him, and Diarmid sort of fixed his hair and got all set. He says, good evening, my lady, is there anything I can do for you? And she just looked at him and she said, you had me once and you will never have me no more. Sorry, I don't think we've met, my lady. What? Sorry? You had me once and you will never have me no more. We've never met. So of course the next warrior was coming, and she backed and she looked at all the warriors, the 9 of them, and she said, you had me once and you will never have me no more. And they were there saying, we don't understand. And Diarmid was a very pretty lad, and she went up to him and she says, you are a wonderful man. She says, you cannot have me, but I will give you a gift. She kissed her fingers and she put it on his forehead. And he got a little love mark there that later in life no woman could resist him. Got into more trouble, that's a different story. We better not go there. And she gave him this love mark on the top of his... But she said to them once more, you had me once and you'll never have me again. And she left the room. And the warriors are saying, what's wrong with this crazy little house? That crazy goat we cannot catch. Who is that woman? Such beauty. I have never seen such beauty. And the little man came in again. He had a plate of food. They were... And Finn says, hold it, little man, before we eat that food. We want to know what's going on here. First of all, what is that goat? Who is that goat? Why cannot we catch it? The little man looked up. He says, that goat is the world. And nobody can ever bind it. And who is that woman? Who is that beautiful, beautiful woman? Who is she? That woman is youth. And you had it. And you will never have it no more. And you, old man, who are you, old man? I, he said, I am death, and I rule you all. That night, they didn't have any supper, and they didn't think about having any supper. But there was other things on their mind. And what was on their mind? But life. For we all have it, and we all share it, and we all share it beneath the sacred tree. That the life force that we all have, no matter what shape, size, creed, colour, or belief, we share the same life force that brings us from the earth, gives us hope in the present, and we await for a better future. And that's one of the stories of Finn McCool. Now should I tell you a different story? Sometimes I go to the Scottish Games, as you well know. And a few months ago, I went off to the Scottish Games. And there was a pipe band that came all the way from Pennsylvania to Long Island. And these were a big competition on. And all the pipers were going to play against, see who was the best piper in there. And there was one small young piper there. And sure enough, all the pipers, they got all dressed up and they were getting their pipes out and they tuned their pipes. But the small piper, he was there and he looked around and he said, I forgot my pipes. How am I going to enter the competition? So he went on to the next one. He said, any chance of the loan of your pipes? And I said, oh no, my pipes, these were my grandfather's pipes. You can't have these ones. And he went on to the next piper and he says, oh please, I really need to enter this competition. I've come a long way from the far end of Pennsylvania. Can I have your pipes? Oh no, you can't have these pipes. It's me own air that's in the bag. And nobody would give him the pipes. He says, what am I going to do? I have come a long way. Well, he looked over and the sheep herding was going on over. And he saw the little black-faced sheep. And he was there and he heard that sheep saying, he said, I think I'll go catch a sheep for myself. So he decided he'd run across the field. And then he'd go over and he started chasing the little sheep around the field. The sheep was running around the place and he couldn't catch the sheep. And he says, let me try to catch the sheep. He says, come on lads, come on, we're a team, aren't we? This is just, we're all doing this together. Help me catch this little sheep. And he went over anyway and all the band got together. And sure enough, they all chased the sheep around and they caught him over in the corner. And the little man went in and he caught the sheep. That little sheep was frightened. He says, oh, what's going to go with me? Oh. He says, that's okay, little sheep, it's okay. And he caught the sheep and he turned them upside down. And he went and says, come on, we're entering a competition. And he went, ba, 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 ba. Well, sure enough, he entered the competition, and believe it or not, after a tiny bit of practice, who won? The little man and the sheep won. Well, the two of them became best friends, and he went off back to Pennsylvania, the far end of it, with the little sheep, and both of them became every friends. And every evening as the sun was going down, they would go up in the high hills, and they would go on, and the two of them would sing it, play a tune. They'd go, ba 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 ba. Any pipers around? Because I tell you, if they heard that, I'm sure they'd be ganging up on me. Myself and the sheep would be running across the field, we would. The old wise tree. Will I tell you another story? Will I tell you a story where I got my name? No? Yes. What? You're saying no? Well, sure, my name is Joe Keane, and I come from a small little town called Castle Island in the southwest of Ireland. And it's a little town surrounded by nice hills. And when I was a young lad, we used to go and draw water from the well. And when you go to the well, of course, it was the purest water you could ever fill. You'd sit down and the water was so beautiful, cool and crisp and clear. It was so much nicer than Poland Springs or anything you can get in a plastic bottle. Well, I decided after many years that I'd go back and I'd look for the well. Because I hadn't been there in ages and we got water in the taps now and we don't have to go to the well and get it from. the ground. So I decided I'd walk out to Tullig Road, and as I was walking along, I was looking for the well. There used to be a path going down into it, and there was no trace of it. So I was walking up and down saying, where is this well? And I was pulling back the bushes, and sure enough, I opened up the bushes, and I saw an old stone that was going into the well. And a verse came to my mind. Going down to the water's edge, polished footstones from many barefoot bearers with their jugs, they gathered the water that they lingered upon. They stepped down lightly to their reflection on the stones below. They dipped their hands in for a drink of the sweetest water flowing in the well that came from our valley. That was 30 years ago. But what was around? Wasn't there plastic in the bushes? And there was cans in the hedgerow? And there was even raw sewage and oil joining the path of the water flow. And I wondered, how did we forget the heritage of our homes, of our ways, and of the water flowing that fed so much knowledge to those druids long ago? Well, I was troubled enough, and I picked up an old plastic bag, and I started collecting the bits of potato bags and chocolate wrappers, and I cleaned up around the well. And I decided, instead of walking along the road, I'd walk down and follow the stream. And I walked along with the well, and I followed it, and it became a nice little stream. And I walked a couple of miles until it became wide enough and deep enough that it would carry a nice trout. And I decided I'd take off my old boots, and I sat down in the bank of the river and put my legs into the water, and I listened to the water singing. And with it, all my troubles went away. And I was there listening to the water, and I forgot about the old plastic bag, my bag of troubles, and all of a sudden I heard something. Oh, look at him! He wouldn't know whether he's coming or whether he's going. Who's there? I looked around, and there was nothing but only the water flowing around the place. Isn't that strange? I thought I heard something. And again I listened. Oh, my troubles went away listening to the water. And once again I heard, oh, look at him! He wouldn't know where he's coming, and he wouldn't know where he's going. Or he'd never know where he came from. How would he know where he's going? I suppose with that I looked around, and nothing again. And listening to the water, and I settled down for the third time. And the third time I heard it. Oh, look at him! He'd never know where he's going because he don't know where he comes from. And I turned around, and over beside a silver birch tree, my first time ever seen one of these things called leprechauns. Well, we know them as cruricons. A small little creature that size, and he had a big fish stick there like that, and he's there, look at you, you wouldn't know where you're coming from, and you never know where you're going. I says, what do you want me? Of course I know where I come from. Where do you come from? I says, I come from the Killarney Road. Where do you think I come from? And what's your name? I says, why would you want to know my name? He said, I know what your name's, Joe Keane. I said,